All right, let's get it started. Honestly, Jake, do you want to just kind of take things off the top? Maybe talk for everybody that's also speaking in here. If you just want to give like, introduce yourself like 30 seconds, just kind of like what you do, why you use technical analysis, and then just hop into, the items that you wanted to hit on today. If you want to talk about your favorite indicators, that's fine. If you want to talk about a stock that you're analyzing, that's fine. I think there's a whole bunch of areas to learn from.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. So, yeah, my name is Jake Wajastik. I'm one of the founding team members of Trendspider. If you're not familiar with Trendspider, it's a technical analysis tool, charting tool, kind of non-traditional technical analysis tool as well, looking at seasonality and that type of thing. So really just a way to make your analysis more efficient and kind of give you a new perspective. So I'll kind of first go over some of the main indicators I look at, and one of them is definitely the anchored volume by price, which is, if you guys can see that pinned chart at the top. This is a good example of the anchored volume by price and kind of how I use it. So Wish was one today that was kind of holding right at that anchored volume by price volume shelf. So what I do is I like to start measuring volume from a pivot point, a reversal in trend, anything like that, that the status quo has kind of changed. So in this case, what I did on Wish, I just started it from kind of that pivot before we absolutely rocketed up. And you can see after the last week or so of consolidation, a lot of that volume is now holding right at the current price level. So that was one that kind of made me think that we could get a bounce. I've had a lot of people ask for a Wish chart lately. Over the last day or so, a lot of people have just been like, "Oh yeah, can you look at Wish?" And I'm like, "Sure." It was looking really good about a week and a half ago, and then it just kind of got destroyed with the clove move to the downside. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I look for. I look for these areas where there's a lot of volume holding. These areas can act as both supply and demand. Anytime the price is below one of these big volume areas, that's going to be a supply zone. That essentially will tell you, hey, there's a lot of people holding above at these different price levels, and I like to call it break even supply because that's where everybody gets back to break even. Some people are going to be like, wow, that drawdown sucked. I want to get out. As soon as they start to sell at break even, that adds supply onto the market. And the same thing here. This is more of like, for Wish at least, this is kind of an area where the price is just trading right at break even. So, meaning a lot of people are holding pretty much right in this general area. And it kind of allows you to see that most people are just holding a break even. So sometimes you just need that little ignition on the demand side, and you can really get some big moves off that volume shelf. If you guys follow me, I like to call that the launch pad. Sometimes it can really be a base for price to move up off of. um, Another example of this is alt immune a week or so ago. Let me see if I can get all fancy here and add this alt chart. Yeah, so hold on. Let's see. See if share tweet to the spaces. Hey, there we go. So I just added a the alt chart here from I think I made this chart last week or the week before, but really same thing. You could see a lot of the price, or sorry, a lot of the volume was really holding at that current price, and all you need is a spark in demand to really make that essentially a kind of a launch pad for price. So that's something I like to use. I also like to use raindrop charts. Raindrop charts are proprietary to Trendspider. They allow you to see the volume profile within a specific time frame that you're looking at. So a lot of the time, if you're looking at a stock and you want to see where the volume came in during the day, you have to go to a shorter term time frame. But in this case, using the raindrop, you can actually see all of that volume and where that volume was located on a single candle, like a daily candle. You don't have to go to the 2 minute or the 5 minute chart. You can just look and see where all that volume came in due to the fact that you can see the volume profile within the candle. So that's another one I like to use. As always, the anchored VWAP is kind of hand in hand with these two tools. So anytime I use the anchored VWAP, I'm usually anchoring the volume by price from that same point in time. And then sometimes I won't use it just because it can kind of pollute the chart a little bit. There's a lot going on. But for the most part, anchored VWAP, anchored volume by price, and raindrops are my technical go-tos. Trend lines, obviously, seeing the patterns form, and then the non-technical is definitely seasonality. So seasonality is huge. I never thought I'd be using seasonality, but it has completely kind of changed the way I look at the markets. Just because you can use the technicals, but then you can also look at seasonality and see, does this breakout complement, or does the seasonality complement this breakout that's happening? And those are things I look at. So, right now I'm definitely watching Wish. I don't have a position in Wish, but it looks pretty strong here. I'm not sure what the market's doing right now with being on Spaces. I can't really see my phone that well, but I like Wish. I like VISL. And a lot of the time I'm looking at the longer term time frame. I'm not looking at the daily chart a lot of the time, unless I'm just looking to see what price action is doing for that day. VISL is one that I'm actually looking at more on the monthly time frame, kind of coiling within that symmetrical triangle. I can try to show that here. Let's see. Oh, it's gonna be way down here. It's weird. The Spaces kind of like makes the scrolling on your feed kind of like a lot slower. So 1 second. Um, 1 second. But yeah, that VISL, post that in a second and share it so everyone can look at it at the top of the Spaces. But also Fubo. I mean, I like Fubo. I think Fubo has too many people that aren't familiar with volatile stocks, and they, kind of went too heavy, and all of a sudden now they're, trying to figure out what's going on. But here's an example on VISL for at least the raindrops. So can you guys see? Yeah, this VISL chart from a couple days ago was like a prime example of how I use the raindrop charts. So anytime you have a difference in the color between the candle and the raindrop, that is always something to look at. So in this case, what was this, Monday? Think Monday we had this red candle, but then we had the green raindrop at the same day. Just looking at each one, that was a big discrepancy that I was looking at. But the most kind of important thing I was looking at was the fact that a lot of volume was at the top of the range of that, within that wick. So anytime you see a wick on a regular candle, you want to turn on the raindrop because it will allow you to see where that volume is located within the wick. If there's no volume profile within the wick, it was likely that move was due to just the market being illiquid and there wasn't a lot of supply above and the price was able to move up quick. But in this case on VISL, you could see there was a lot of volume profile at the top of the range. And anytime that occurs, that there were buyers there absorbing supply, most likely aggressive buyers. And a lot of the time, these sell offs into the close aren't a function of sellers. They're just a function of those aggressive buyers being done. Supply curve, or excuse me, the demand curve shifts back and the price drops because that demand pulls back, not because sellers came in. And so a lot of people have trouble kind of understanding the difference between, selling and then just demand drying up. So that's an example on VISL, but all in all, that chart on the monthly looks good. I like Fubo. And then what else do I like right now? I did like Spotify. I don't know what Spotify's doing. I haven't really had a chance to look at the chart too much today, or at least in the last 30 minutes, because the market's changed so much. PLTR, I mean, I like PLTR too if it can get above that anchor VWAP from the all-time high. I just shared that one in the space too, so you guys can see what I'm seeing there. Just a huge volume shelf that's now acting as a level of kind of a base for price. As soon as we close above that anchored VWAP, I think that's when things get interesting. So that's kind of the way I look at the market. Those are some of the charts that I'm keeping an eye on right now. Wish is definitely one that came on my radar after a friend of mine told me about it yesterday, and then I've had a couple people ask about it today. So clearly the sentiment is starting to increase there, as well as the chart looking pretty good with that volume shelf forming there too. So a big shout out to everybody who's joining. I see a lot of familiar names. Jason, that's my fishing buddy right there. He's also part of the Trendspider group. I think I saw Brad in here, Bread911. He's one of my good friends. And just, thanks everybody for joining, and I'll hand it off to James.
Real quick, James, before you go into it, I'll hand it back to you. But thank you so much, Jake. That was a fantastic breakdown. And honestly, like I see, pinning these things helps, but I would love to get you on like a Zoom with a bunch of people so you can share your screen and roll us through what you're doing. Because it's fantastic the way that you're breaking it down. But I think you'd be even more effective if you were able to kind of be moving us around. For anybody who hasn't used Trendspider, highly recommend checking it out. I actually am starting to learn more about it myself. I'm getting a little bit better with it. I'm going to be meeting one-on-one with one of the people that works there. That's one of their things that you're able to do is they give all these one-on-one slots, which is fantastic. And then on the stocks we're talking about, I actually did a podcast with somebody like late May on Wish. It was at like 7.5, like eight-ish dollars, right around that range. They're like, yeah, I'm buying or I'm selling puts. They were selling puts on it down there, which is actually genius because it definitely wasn't falling too far. And then obviously with PLTR, I was glad you hit on that one. Any comments before we move to James?
Yeah, I think you have a one-on-one with Jason, who I just gave a shout out. So, yeah, no, Jason's great. So, you're in good hands with that one-on-one. But yeah, I'll hand it off to James. And yeah, one other one maybe to keep an eye on is Smile Direct. I mean, Smile Direct has gotten beaten down, but I do think that one could have a big move. HYLN is another one I like. It seems like the market's kind of shrugging off any inflation, interest rate fears after the FOMC today. So that is all I have to say. I will hand it off now to James, who's also a big user of Trendspider and a great chartist.
Thank you, Jake, for the wonderful introduction. I appreciate the kind words. Hello, everybody. This is James from Stock Chart Art. I am the CEO of Stock Chart Art, the live trading room. I got a quick question. How do I share the way Jake was sharing those charts? Because I never used this before.
Yeah, so if you go onto one of your posts, so you can go onto your timeline and then you hit the share button on your post, it'll come up with a little share in space option at the top, so above the DMs.
All right, let me just take a look. All right, I'm sorry, guys, to do this. You know what? I'm not even gonna go into it. But
Do you want me to share one of yours? Which one do you want? I see DQ, CADE, EMKR.
I guess we could go. I guess you could just put up EMKR for now, and then I'll go over a couple different ones that I really like right now. But
No,
yeah,
sure.
I always appreciate what Jake has to say. Jake is definitely one of the great chartists out there. He was definitely an inspiration to me early in my trading career, and I think that's one of the really great aspects of FinTwit and the community that we have, is that there's so many different personalities and so many different trading styles, and that you could sort of take pieces here and there from everybody, and turn it into your own trading strategy and turning it into something that works for you and keeps you profitable and keeps you successful at the end of the day. And I think that's just an overall good strategy to have when it comes to trading and when it comes to technical analysis, especially in the beginning when you're learning, um, to really take little pieces here and there from different traders, and turn it into your own strategy, because at the end of the day, trading is a learning process. We never graduate from trading. We're always learning. We're always studying. We're constantly evolving, and it's a little bit difficult, to really go into, true technical analysis without sharing my live stream, and without really going into detail into the specific charts. But what I really like to focus on when it comes to technical analysis is that technical analysis is the trader's roadmap. Um, these patterns have been working for the last 200 years, whether you're talking about cup and handles, high and tight flags, flat bases. These same patterns have been repeating themselves and resolving for the last 200 years. So when you study charts historically, especially a lot of my trading is deeply rooted in the teachings of William O'Neill. I'm very founded in can slim trading. It's just something that works for me personally. There's a lot of really good can slim traders out there, but at the end of the day, you're really choosing the stocks that have the strongest fundamentals, and then you're looking for technical setups in those stocks to enter into a position. But the big thing when it comes to technical analysis, especially in the beginning and when you're learning, because I really want to resonate with the new traders, and the people that don't have that much experience, is to really understand your trading patterns, whether they're bullish pennants, falling wedges, cup and handles. You need to understand, and you need to be able to recognize patterns when you're looking at charts. And there's a lot of great resources and free tools to be able to do this. You could just go on Google and you could type in chart patterns, and 50 different sheets of different chart patterns will pop up. But what I specifically did in the beginning when I was learning technical analysis is I would take traders like Trader Among, for example, Jake from Trendspider, Mad Market, Duckman, and I would take all of these traders that I looked up to and that I loved their charts and that I loved their work, um, and I would take their charts and I would draw it up myself on Trendspider. So I would look at the chart, and then I would take it and then I would put the lines in myself. And then by doing that, you're physically learning what the chart patterns mean that way when you sit down and you actually draw it out yourself rather than just relying on somebody else's chart. So in the beginning, every single night at the end of the day, I would go through Twitter, I would go through all of the different charts that I liked from the different traders that I liked, and then I would go log into my Trendspider account, and then I would pull up all those charts, and I would just chart them out exactly the way that specific trader had it charted out. And I would put them on focus lists. And then by doing that, I was able to really learn what all the different patterns are in the market. So if you're a newer trader or if you're a beginner, that's something that I definitely recommend. If you're trying to learn technical analysis and you're trying to learn the different patterns that are out there, just you gotta dig in and you gotta start to do it yourself. Just pick out a couple people that you like. Take those charts that you like and start charting them yourself. That's the absolute best way to learn. But when it comes down to it, it's not very difficult, the formula that I use, which keeps me successful. I'm basically looking for a consolidation pattern. I'm looking for a specific pattern, whether it's a bullish pennant, a falling wedge, a cupboard handle, a symmetrical triangle, a double bottom. I'm looking for a specific consolidation period, a specific pattern. I'm looking for a volume shelf, which Jake touched on earlier, the anchored volume by price. I'm looking for a volume shelf to be forming around price within the pattern. And then I am going to be looking for volume, not the anchored volume by price, but traditional volume. I'm looking for the volume to be drying up as the price consolidates. And then I'm looking for a breakout on high volume. And when I say a breakout on high volume, I'm looking for a breakout volume that's at least greater than the last 10 trading days. And then also a good tool to be able to use on breakouts. I know MarketSmith has it. I don't know how many other chart software programs have this out there, but they tell you what the volume run rate is. So when a stock is breaking out, I'm looking for the volume run rate to be at least over 100%. And that's compared to the 50 simple moving average of the volume over the last 50 days. So I'm looking for a consolidation. I'm looking for that specific pattern. I'm looking for a volume shelf forming around price. Within that specific pattern, I'm looking for the volume to be drying up, which means that it's declining as that stock is consolidating. And then I'm looking for a breakout on high volume. I can't emphasize how important the volume is when it comes to the breakouts. If a breakout does not have high volume behind it, then you do not want to enter the position if it doesn't have volume. The volume means that there's real institutional conviction and that there's true heavy buying that's taking place behind that move, and the likelihood of that breakout greatly increases when you have heavy volume behind it. When you don't have heavy volume behind it, you'll see a lot of the times when we get a breakout that's on low volume, that specific pattern winds up failing. And then, just like something else that I want to touch on really quickly, which isn't, necessarily technical analysis, but I can't emphasize, how important risk management is. It's the number one most important factor when it comes to trading, because at the end of the day, if we don't manage our capital, then the market is going to manage it. And we don't want that to happen. So make sure that you're using stop losses on all your trades. Me specifically, I use the 3-5-7 rule. Most of my stop losses are between 3 and 5%. Very rarely I'll allow a stop to go to 7% on rare occasions, but most of the time I'm using tight stop losses between 3 and 5%. If I get stopped out on the particular stock on that position, I could always get back into it if the trade proves itself down the line. I'm not only a breakout trader. I talked about the patterns. I talked about the consolidations. I'll also enter a position or add on to a position a lot of the time off of a strong reversal or bounce off of a key moving average, whether it's the 21 EMA or the 50 SMA, but it's all dependent on the personality and the characteristics of that specific stock, how you're entering the position or how you're adding on to that position off of a moving average bounce. So it varies from stock to stock. But is there anything else
I
that you want me to go over? I'm just kind of like rambling on.
No, I think you touched on a bunch of stuff. I really liked hearing your favorite indicators that you're using, kind of more of your perspective, the advice to beginners. I thought that was all really good. I recommend if anybody's, in here and you're interested, go in to Star Chart Art's page. You can see he uses Trendspider for a lot of this stuff. There's plenty of charts on his page. Yeah, I mean, I think we might do some kind of a little bit of questions at the end. I do want to give kind of all the speakers a little chance to speak. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of go over right now?
Yeah, just for like an example, like I had you like put on the EMKR chart, and it's just got kind of a perfect cup with a handle. And when you really become a technician, and you truly study chart patterns, there's the bigger picture, but there's also those minor intricacies in trading where the more time that you have, those intricacies become more and more important. So EMKR, for example, was just a beautiful cup and handle setup. And you could see in the handle as the price is pulling back within the handle, you could see that the volume is drying up perfectly. You could see at the low of the handle that there's barely any volume at all. And then as the right side of that handle is built out, you can see the volume start to pick back up as the right side of the handle is built, completing the right side of the base completely. So that's always a positive sign. And what you want to see is the volume drying up towards the lows of the patterns, and then the volume starting to expand and pick up as the right side of the base is built out. And you could see as price moves through the resistance of the handle, you could see the volume on that particular candle that it is above average, above the yellow line. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
you know,
awesome. I mean, I really like the way that you're kind of um, cutting down because some of the times I think when it goes into technical analysis, there's just too many lines for some people, right? It just gets a bit overwhelmed. And if you go and you look, at that chart that I pinned, right? It's simple. There's a volume shelf, there's moving averages, or not the one that I pinned, but I was looking at the DQ, your falling wedge. It's very clean.
yeah, absolutely. I really try to keep it as simple as possible. Patrick Walker, who's definitely one of my inspirations and one of my favorite traders, he was schooled in the William O'Neill teachings. I believe he actually met him and worked under him. But he just emphasizes this all the time. Clean and simple bases. Looking for clean and simple bases and breakouts on high volume from those clean and simple bases.
Absolutely.
It
Jake, I know. Oh, sorry.
sounds
I
so.
know Jake has a 4 p.m. hard stop. I just wanted to see if you want to say anything
I
because it's
was actually,
3:59.
I actually am good. I'm gonna stay around. I had a hard stop to do a few things, but I can listen in and still talk. So I'm actually gonna
Perfect.
stick around. One thing I wanted to say real quick. I see Greg is in here, and I have to say, first of all, shout out to him for just literally blowing away any I think other account I've ever seen get so many damn followers in like 2 months. So just want to give him a shout out for that. But and just hilarious content he puts out, which is what I like about FinTwit as well. It's not just straight up technical analysis, right? It's like the humor and that type of thing. Him and John W. Rich's son. I literally there's few times where like I'll actually say laugh out loud and actually be laughing. Like it's just kind of like better than saying haha. But like literally some of this stuff that I read from these guys, I'm like, my wife's like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, never mind. But just want to give Greg a shout out because I literally love his page. But yeah, I'll just sit back and comment wherever. And if we have some time, later, I can chime in again. Now that the market's closed and I can look at some charts. But just wanted to let you know I'll stay around.
Perfect. And just because you mentioned Greg and John W. Rich Kidd, I'm actually going to be hosting a space with both of them tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST. Greg, will you munch an Oreo for us on it? Give me 100. So maybe. I think he's going to work out after the space, so he might not want to have Oreos beforehand. I think those are the after gym snack. But yeah, yeah, there we go. Yeah. So John W. Rich Kid, meme investors, who's also in the crowd. Greg, Matt Esparza, and potentially Coked Up Options, who's John W. Rich, are all going to be on a space tomorrow at 6 p.m. covering memes and markets with me. So definitely be on the lookout for that one. But I'm going to keep the ball rolling here. We have two other speakers that I want to get to. So I think Stock Chart Art, I don't see him in here. I wonder if he kind of dropped off or not. I can reach out to him to see if anything happened. But Bobby Gattuso, what's going on, man? Let's see.
Hey,
There.
sorry, I was on mute. Things are great, and such great content. Listening to all these speakers, and and the sentiment for me is quite the same. Is volume profiles is a absolute quintessential part of what I do. Is you have the your moving averages, and you're looking for these breakouts. But if you don't have true volume conviction behind those, I usually don't take the move, just because they'll quickly break down. And just listening to the other speakers, I completely agree that you need justification to go into these trades, and keeping it simple, not have all this clutter, is a big part of what I do. And I'm a big proponent of 200-day SMA breakouts, 100-day, 50, 20, 10, the traditional breakouts you like to see above those simple moving averages, accompanied by real volume, that's has great conviction behind those, and then a positive news catalyst. And I typically stay away from the junk companies, so to speak. I really like to look at some of these companies' PE values associated with the ones I go into, just because I've gotten burned on some technical analysis looking at less to be desired stocks that have poor financials and they kind of just run themselves into the ground. So I really do look at both, as the technical aspect of it, but also some of the true financials behind those stocks. And even if the executive setup of those stocks, and see what their track record is, gives me conviction to go into those trades.
Absolutely. What have you been trading over the last few days? Anything fun?
Well, right now I was off the Fed meetings today. I was kind of doing some 3 times leverage ETF bears, but I kind of got out of those stocks because as the markets turned, the sentiment, I think about an hour and a half ago, it was a bit negative, but they started to rebound a little bit nicely, and I got out of those positions. But for long term, I've been looking at Salesforce, Zoom, and Neo for a variety of different reasons. Neo's been in this wonderful uptrend, and it's bouncing nicely off its 100-day moving average. So I'm looking at that. For Zoom, it has a clear runway, in my opinion, until it has, the 200-day SMA is at 387. So I would look at that for the next area of resistance. But right now, it's a kind of clear runway, in my opinion, until that point where we see a breakdown or breakout. And then Salesforce as well. Let me put that up. Which is CRM. Yeah. Well, actually, Salesforce is interesting to me because there's a bit of head and shoulders, and I'm kind of looking for the breakout above the 249 mark. So I would like to see like a buy entry after that point, because there is a bit of a head and shoulders, and I bet you guys can see that as well on your charts. So I'm kind of looking at that pretty closely. So those are the ones I'm looking at.
Cool. And Bobby, maybe can chat for just a few minutes on what are kind of your favorite indicators to use? What are some of the patterns that you're most closely following? And how are you, I guess, finding the stocks that you're trading on a daily basis? Because I know you get it pretty early to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I have my scanners. I have 200-day SMA breakouts, 100-day, 50. I look at market cap. I look at volume, associated with those breakouts that I get alerted for. And then I kind of just, take my time and look at each chart and see the level of conviction with the volume behind those breakouts. And then I do look at volume profile. I know you guys mentioned that earlier in the talk, and I completely agree. I like to know where people bought in, where people bought out, because those are areas of support and resistance, just as important as those moving averages. So that in combination, and obviously you want to look at the RSI, the overbought, the oversold, the MACD. You definitely want to have momentum moving forward into those trades that you have conviction behind. So there's, I do keep it simple, and also I do like relative strength, comparative against like the S&P 500. So those in tandem, that's my go trigger.
Perfect. Sweet. I guess anything else kind of like specific that you wanted to cover, or I can throw it over to Shark and we can come back around and do some stuff at the end.
Yeah, give it a Shark. Give him an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, let's get Shark. Shark, how you doing?
Hey, what's up? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Hope everything's going good by you.
Yeah,
Would love to kind
doing
of,
well.
that's good to hear. Would love to hear, what you've been eyeing, maybe some of your process. We got a little bit of a different audience here. And if there's anything that kind of stood out to you from the other three guys.
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I feel very honored actually being on here with Jake. I use Trendspider, so it's an honor to be on the same spaces as him. One thing that I guess I'll probably just start by this because I don't know if I've ever really reviewed it, but how I like to what indicators I use are I use the EMAs, and the ones that I use mainly are the 8 and the 20, 8, 13, and 21, and then I use Bollinger Bands for things that I feel like are oversold or overbought. And then my main indicator though is the MACD. And the reason why I love the MACD and the histogram of the MACD histogram is for me this is like a quote I read a while ago, and it's something that works for me really well. For me it works like headlights on a car. It gives you a glimpse of the road ahead, not all the way home, mind you, but enough to drive safely at a reasonable speed. For me, it's huge because what the MACD does is it shows you when bears are starting to weaken and when bulls are starting to gain control, or vice versa. It's a trend spotter, and that's what I like to do. When I trade, I'm looking for trends to either reverse on the positive side. So if something's really bullish, and then we have divergences in our MACD, it's starting to show that bullish trend is starting to slow down, and we're going to have some bullish opportunity, or bullish trend is going to start to take over. And then it might be an opportunity, if you've been in that stock, to either sell or to take profits. And then if you're someone that doesn't like to short, you just wait for our MACD to start to diverge from that bearish trend and start to show that the bulls are starting to take control, and then you can look to get back in. For me, the MACD and the signal cross is really my confirmation of when I usually like to buy or I like to sell. But perfect example, I actually right now am about 80% cash, and I went in on that actually yesterday based on some of the MACD divergences, and our EMA was downtrending a bit. And it's just, for me, on some of my algorithms that I do right, I was spotting some trend reversals happening yesterday. So for me, it's smarter to secure cash. And I also knew that the Fed was talking today. So I wanted to see what kind of volatility was going to happen today. I want to see what kind of price movements we were going to maybe bounce off of, what support areas and zones were going to be crucial. And then also, what areas do we break and we're not able to break on the other end? So what are our new resistance? So for me, how I trade, those are the indicators I use, is the stochastic, MACD, and the EMAs and the Bollinger Bands. But then how I like to go about my trades and find my watch list is I'm a little bit different. I use a scanner sometimes. That's probably 10% of my trades. But most of my trades come from the work that I've done outside of market hours. And I usually like to start with unusual options activity. And I like to see what are big hedge funds buying. And for me, it's a psychological aspect. So when I do go and I look at it, it's okay. So I'm looking at things from both ends. I'll have pivot points both on the bullish side and the bearish side. And I'm looking for each side to break for me to be either going long or going short. But I like to start at my unusual options activity, because that gives me almost like a playlist that will give me the price action for the week that I'm looking for. So what I like to start is I'm looking for options activity that are usually pretty large outside the money, and they're very large in volume. And for me, it's showing that large money, either institution, hedge funds, or somebody with a lot of retail money, is either knows something that we don't, or they're hedging against their current position, right? But even if they're going really strong on a current stock, either long or short, they usually know something that we don't. And for me, I like to follow the flow always. So that's how I start my list. So I'll go through and see what are large volumes. And then after I get about 10 stocks that I like and I feel like they're going to get a good price action for the week, then I like to go and I like to review the support and resistance and crucial pivot points, both on the long and short, that I believe will be, once they break, we're going to have a bullish trend to the upside or a bearish trend to the downside. I'll never play anything that has lower than 2 to 3 million in volume, because I like to have like liquidity, just like everyone else. Volume's important, but for me also, just like everyone else, I'm watching those volume candles, especially on the 5-minute chart, especially if I'm day trading, and if we're breaking the volume average, the volume moving average, especially double break, like say if the candle above it is 500,000 shares and the next candle is 1 million, I'm immediately looking in and saying, okay, where's my pivot points? What am I locking in? This is where I'm looking to buy. I don't go chasing just because volume's there, but it gives me that leading indicator that there could be significant price action to follow. So I'll keep it a little short, but for me, like I said, the MACD is super important. I'm looking for divergences in price action. And by divergences, I mean if the price action is moving in a bullish trend, but on our MACD, we're maybe making lower lows, or I mean higher lows. Sorry, we're making lower highs, and then on the histogram is starting to downtrend. It's not in our upwards trend anymore. That's when things will start to. I'll start to pay attention, and then with our MACD crossover is usually my indication on my buy or short position. And I'll go ahead and keep it a little short so we can have questions and all that kind of good stuff.
Awesome. Well, I have some of my own questions, but I do want to kind of leave it to the speakers for a little bit of discourse. It's always good to hear those kind of things. So I'll throw it first back to you, James, see if there's any thoughts you have.
Sorry, thoughts on what in particular?
Yeah, if there was anything that came up that you wanted to touch on, would be fine if you had any questions all around. If not, I can kind of throw some stuff out, but I want it to be a little bit of a free-flowing discussion. You could talk about kind of what you're looking at for the rest of the week, right? Maybe give people a bit of a head start, what you'll be charting, working on, what they can look out for, or if you have any questions for any other speakers.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so damn, Ben Killer just left the chat, and I was going to give him a shout out. So one thing I'm looking at, I said Fubo. I don't know if everybody saw my goofy Geico Gecko Fubo chart the other night after I smoked a doobie. But yeah, that's one that actually is still playing out pretty nicely here. It bounced off the pennant support today. So Fubo definitely is setting up nice, especially after a pretty big flip today. Let me look at the daily chart real quick. 1 second. But yeah, I mean the fact that we bounced off that support zone, that pennant support was big. I'm assuming we probably broke down a little bit through it. Yeah, we broke down a little bit through it, but then we did close above it. I'll post an updated chart on that one later tonight if those that are interested in that one. So Fubo for sure. Let's see, what's another one that kind of recovered. Let me just look at my watch list at this point. XBI, I mean, XBI recovered pretty well today. One thing that I do is I like to look at candles before they've closed. So a lot of people will kind of look at that as the wrong way to do it. You have to wait till the candle closes, and you have to wait until a longer term candle closes to really, have conviction. But it would be stupid not to look at the monthly candle forming, the weekly candle forming. Generally, you don't want to go look at the monthly candle on something on the second day of the month. But going into the second half of the month, you want to at least get an idea of what it's setting up as. So, for example, I brought up VISL earlier. There's a reason why I did, because that is looking good on the monthly. Being a swing and position trader, I'm more focused on the longer term candle. So yes, I definitely want to wait until it closes, but I would highly recommend to start looking at things before they've closed, because that's when everybody else is going to look at it. So that's one thing that I do like on Trendspider is the ability to scan for the current candle. So I could go in. I actually just ran a scan today on through the S&P 500 for bullish weekly candles that are still currently forming. So some that popped up are, and some of these names are kind of random. Let me turn on the regular candle here. MU pops up here as a decent weekly candle. You kind of have an inside bar there. Obviously, we still have 2 days left, so keep that in mind. Pretty much you want to use just the previous candle. So if MU breaks the previous week's low around 78.50, then it does get bearish. But you definitely want to keep in mind, some of these names. CBOE is actually looking really strong right now on the weekly chart. So that's a ticker that's pretty interesting. CNC is another one that popped up on the scanner for. I'm not sure which. I pretty much went through and I scanned for weekly bullish engulfing candles, weekly belt hold bullish setups, and then bullish haramis. So I searched for any three of those. So CNC came up. CBOE looks really good. CME also came up, which is interesting that some of these names are popping up. But all in all, I mean, it seems like a lot of the growth names did have a pretty decent pop. I was in Home Depot. I stopped out of that. It recovered a little bit, but kind of stopped out right where I got out of, and it closed right around there. GRWG, if that damn thing can get its shit together, that would be a good one. I think weed names are set up for a move. I just think that a lot of the time, if everybody's anticipating that move, everybody's got to get shaken out before the actual move. So GRWG, I like. I mean, one thing I look at is market caps. If you look at GRWG, it only has a $2.4 billion market cap. And I mean, if you look at the weed market in general, probably in the next 10 years, this is kind of the go-to picks and axes and shovels type of approach where you're not buying companies that grow weed, you're buying companies that's GRWG supplying all of that. So I remember when Brian Shannon, who's a huge mentor to me, told me about GRWG as that type of company when it was like $7. And so that's something to keep in mind. Look at the market cap. If GRWG is a $20 billion market cap, I probably think the market's pricing in some of the future growth in this industry, but a $2.4 billion market cap is nothing. So that's something I like to look at too, is just the overall market cap of things. I do like SDC because of that as well, simply because it's a small market cap, and you look at pretty much its other competitor is ALGN, Invisalign, and that's let's see, what is Invisalign right now? What's the market cap? I think well over 40 billion. Holy shit, I think it's higher. Yeah, 47 billion. So, those are the types of things I look at, kind of discrepancies between, two companies in the same sector or industry, and the huge discrepancy between the market caps. So, SDC had a nice green close. HYLN is another one that looks pretty good. Honestly, it's kind of bull flagging here. This is one that I was trading a few months ago before we crashed, and then I cashed out of everything, including that one. But that one's looking pretty strong again. Macy's is looking decent at this point. So those are some of the names that I have on my watch list. As I mentioned, Spotify. Spotify closed green too. So that's one I kind of like as well. And that's another one. If you look at the monthly candle on Spotify, that's kind of what I'm taking a look at. So those are some of the names that I'm really focused on, and really just look at sentiment. I mean, if you follow some bigger names on FinTwit and you see somebody post a really, a great chart, people are probably liking it because it's a cool chart, but also they're probably liking it because they have a position in it. And if too many people have a position in something, where is the next leg of demand going to come from? If everybody who's going to buy that is already in it and it's not going up, then that's a problem. You need another leg of demand to come in to push these things higher. And so that's something I also look for. Oh, Ben Killer's back in here. Hey, Ben Killer. He made a follow-up chart to my gecko formation or whatever on Fubo, and it was absolutely great. I think he did a fish in a bowl chart art type of rendition of the Fubo chart. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. He's a big Trendspider user as well. Shout out to Dan in here. He's actually the CEO of Trendspider. Just has really helped us get to the point we're at. And yeah, definitely want to give everybody some shout outs. Blake's in here, another great trader and chartist. So yeah, no, just a lot of great people in here listening in. So that's kind of my spiel. Definitely, if you are using Trendspider, you can use the current candle, which is, like I said, that's what I'm using right now. It was a crappy day in the market. I went through and I started to look for weekly current candles that are still looking pretty decent into the second half of the week. And so definitely something to use, especially if you're a position trader. You do that with the monthly candles a couple days before the monthly close. Same thing with the weekly. If you're a scalper, do it 2 minutes before the 15-minute candle closes. It just helps you get a better perspective and a little more of a head start on everybody else who's waiting for those actual candles to fully close. So that's my feedback there on some of the names and some of the ways to use this.
Sweet. Shout out, Dan. Appreciate you being here and checking out some stuff. James, you had something?
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely appreciate what Jake had to say, and shout out to Dan Ishman, and see that he was in the room. Oh, because he's got the new profile picture, so it kind of throws me off a little bit. But yeah, I also want to really like touch on the different like trading strategies that are out there, because there's so many different like trading strategies, and the amount of time that we hold the stock for really determines the style of trading that we use. Um, what might work for one trader that's going to be day trading or scalping, that's going to be 100 cash by 4 p.m. by the close, is different for a swing trader that's going to be holding the stock for a couple days, a couple of weeks, or even a couple of months. And then position traders. I'm a position trader as well. I'm a hybrid trader, position and swing. Um, in position trading, we're holding on to the stock, whether it's weeks, months, or years, as long as the trend stays intact. So, when you're following these people on Twitter, and, especially for like new people that are learning, you're following all these different traders, you want to see what they're doing, what stocks they're buying at what different time, to be able to get ideas, because, you're not really able to analyze charts the way that somebody has experience. You need to keep that in mind. The style of trading that these people are using, when you're making trades based off of what they're doing. I think that's something important to keep in mind, is the different trading strategies and the amount of time that people hold on to trades, because you could execute a trade. We could both execute the same trade, but you might be day trading and I might be holding onto it for a couple of weeks or for a couple of months. So it's a lot different. So I just think that that's like something that's like very important, and that people need to keep in mind at the end of the day. But I just wanted to kind of go over like a couple of stocks that I'm really watching right now and that are on my radar. And one of those stocks is TIGR. We had initially got a really nice double bottom breakout on really big volume around 12 days ago, 13 days ago. I don't know if you could pull up one of my tiger charts.
Yeah,
I'm sure
let me see.
I'm sure I got a I'm sure I got a
Yeah,
couple.
I see one posted 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So
Yeah, I just tagged that in the space.
yeah, so just to kind of like go back and emphasize what I'm looking for: clean and simple bases, and a breakout on high volume. And TIGR is just kind of like a perfect example of the kind of breakouts that I'm looking for. You just look at the volume on that breakout candle, and it's just absolutely massive. Especially, you could just look at the accumulation over the last 2 weeks. You could see the volume that's coming into the stock. And then we had that kind of harsh pullback yesterday. I think from the high of the day to the low of the day yesterday, I think the stock dropped down around 22%. But we got nice support today off of the 21 EMA. We got a nice hammer off the 21 EMA on high volume, which is showing us that institutions are coming in and supporting price at this level, which is always news. So this is definitely one that I want to keep my eyes on. I'm going to be looking for further confirmation of this hammer off the 21 EMA. That price keeps going up from here, so I'll be closely monitoring this one tomorrow and Friday. And then Zim is another one that I've been really closely watching lately. The stock has just been in a beautiful, strong uptrend since its IPO. I think it IPO'd around 1132 back on February 1st, 2021. The stock's at 45 right now. Just absolutely beautiful and strong relative strength the whole way up. And we got this really nice double bottom that's forming on Zim, and we kind of got a little head fake the last 2 days. We had price super tight within the double bottom, and then price kind of broke down from it, pulling straight back to the 21 EMA, and then we got a bullish engulfing candle today off of the 21, eating up yesterday's candle. But I'm definitely watching this one for a breakout of this double bottom. Looking at this particular pullback as a handle that's forming on the double bottom. We got a really big volume shelf building around price as well. So that's one that I am closely monitoring. Also, SE. I know this is definitely on a lot of people's radar, especially growth traders. They just seem to love this stock. We got this really nice double bottom setup. We got this really big volume shelf that's building around price within the double bottom. We're kind of at the apex. Price is either going to have to break upwards or break downwards, but that's another one that I will be looking at throughout the rest of the week. And then Upstart as well. I got my eyes closely on UPST. Let me just pull it up so that I could look at it. It's kind of forming this falling wedge pattern. We're just slightly below the 50 SMA moving average right now. So I really want to see how this weekly candle closes at the end of the week. I want to see if we close above the 50 SMA or below the 50 SMA. Once I'm in a position and I have a low buy point, one of the tricks in trading, especially in position trading, is to sit still and to not get shaken out of a stock if that stock is going to continue to run. And Upstart is definitely one of those stocks that I think has a monster runway ahead of it. So for this particular position that I'm in, my specific sell rules is that if a stock closes below the 50 simple moving average on the weekly, that I will exit the position. So this one I'm going to be watching closely to see if we could close back above the 50 simple moving average by Friday. And then SOXL, that is the semiconductor ETF. Semis have been really strong. There's a global chip shortage right now. We got this really big double bottom setup. We got a monster volume shelf forming around price. We got a lot of semis breaking out. EMKR is one of those semi companies. We just got a really strong breakout in that stock. I think AMAT also is setting up a little bit. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on semis. They're one of the stronger industries right now in the market. And I think Pool's a pretty interesting one right now also. POOL. POOL has it's got a nice tight bullish pennant that's setting up. You got a nice medium-sized volume shelf that's building around price as the price consolidates within the pennant. So I'll be watching that one as well. So I just keep all of my stocks on a focus list that I'm watching for that specific week. So if you don't use focus lists or you don't use watch lists, I recommend that you do. You need a way to track the particular stocks that you're watching and that you're looking at. And then Coin also. Coin is kind of forming a little double bottom pattern. So I'm definitely watching that. I'm seeing if we are finally bottoming out on Coin. Ever since the IPO debuted, the stock has just been tanking. IPO'd around 429. We're at around 228 right now. So I'll just be, I'll keep my eyes on that one and see what happens. But that's oh wow, Fubu's cranking after hours
Let's go, baby. Let's
up
go.
6.5%. Nice. Yeah, I just noticed that. Yeah, it's kind of formed a little channel that it's breaking out of. I know Jake was just talking about Fubu, but yeah, what was I just talking about? I was talking about focus lists and watch lists. But yeah, that's it. Uh, any like
It's
questions
quite
or?
the list. Yeah, quite the list. I mean, I'll open it real quick to any of the other speakers up here. Bob, you got a question?
Oh no, I was just more complimentary. Setting up those watch lists. Being prepared for those breakouts. And I was going to say if there was any other tickers that people were interested in, Blink Charging and Thermo Fisher are doing nicely off their 100-day simple moving averages, and Thermo Fisher is actually breaking above its 200-day.
Oh, and that's just one of the things that I wanted to say quickly before I close out is that, like I put all these stocks on a watch list, on a focus list, and I could have the stock on my watch list or focus list for a month, 2 months. I keep them on my focus list, but I don't pull the trigger until the stock meets the strict criteria that I'm looking for in it in order to position myself in that stock. I never jump the gun. Um, a stock could be on my watch list for 3 months and I do nothing with it. But that's the thing. You need to allow the trades to come to you. You can't impose your will on the market. It will never work, and you will always lose money that way. Practice patience, and allowing the trades to come to you will really save your wallet at the end of the day.
I also wanted to
Absolutely.
just give a quick shout out to Shark Traders. Definitely, really appreciate you using the platform, and yeah, just gave you a follow too. So definitely, thanks for the shout out, man. I appreciate it, and it's great to be on here with everybody.
Yeah, I love when companies have or well, people repping companies come on and are interactive, and that's a pleasure. Jake Shark, I saw you about to speak.
Oh yeah, like I just want to say, and it's funny because I'm not trying to promote it or anything. It's just it's a great platform. It's something that I use on the daily, especially being a technical analysis person. It has so many intuitive tools. So if you're someone that haven't or isn't checked it out yet, they even have like free trials and stuff. I definitely recommend everyone check it out because I did a free trial and I immediately went and became a member. So that's that. And then one little thing, guys. I know that some people don't always we went over some of my community talked about like 2 nights ago about unusual option activity, and ITUB was one perfectly that we talked about. And when I was bringing up ITUB, which is a financial industry, and I was looking at I think it was Monday night, we were looking at unusual option activity. There was a lot of financials that were out of the money, that were expiring within a week, and I was telling everyone that that's just that's weird leading into what might happen. And I think we alerted ITUB to my community when it was trading at like 620 or maybe 630, and it ran all the way up to almost 670 today. So just like I said, that's me following the flow, right? And then what I do is I take that unusual option activity, follow the flow, and then I go to Trendspider and make sure that the technical analysis and the weekly and the daily and the intraday charts are lining up for that trend change, and that's all I do.
I love it. No, flow and Trendspider together definitely they just naturally complement each other. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see a lot of flow, new flow products coming out. Cheddar Flow is a great one, but I've seen a lot of other ones as well that have been kind of popping up. So it's cool to kind of see. You know, I don't use flow too much. It just sometimes will cloud almost too much for me, but that doesn't mean really anything at all. It's just the kind of trader that I am and kind of how I'm used to looking at things. But it is definitely interesting to see a lot of the time flow really kicking in, and especially those shorter term ones. I think Tilray had a lot of flow come in a couple days ago, and then it just had a huge pop the next day. So there's definitely a lot of value to be absorbed from these different products on the flow side of things.
Real quick, Gavin, so you popped in. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, nothing yet.
Got it, no worries. We're gonna have the meme one tomorrow. Maybe I think meme investors would want you there for that one too. Cool. So we definitely covered a bunch of Bobby Shark. I know that the other guys touched on some of the stuff that they're looking at for the rest of this week. Obviously, we're headed into the latter portion. Do you also, for anybody who is unfamiliar with Bobby and Shark, we are all going to be teaming up on a Twitch live stream, hopefully starting next week, where it's going to be a Wolf Financial Twitch, and Bobby will be streaming in the morning, and then Shark in the evening. Maybe we'll use some Trendspider stuff for charting on the stream. Who knows? And that'll be something that people will be able to follow. That'll be free, available. You'll be able to see their trades, what they're looking at. So make sure to check out those guys if that's something that you're interested in. But Bobby, I'll have you go first.
Oh, absolutely. I was just about to mention to the folks listening that we're going to have that Twitch space starting on Monday. I'm really excited to work with Shark. And a lot of good content, a lot of free content. Well, all of it's free, and it'll kind of show you what I find important. It'll be going through my charting, my watch list, the trades that I go into, and hopefully they're green. Well, that'll be embarrassing if they lose a bit of money. But it'll be a really introspective of what we're doing, and as a day trader, what it's really like day in, day out, the consistency level, what we find important. I read a ton, Barron's, Morningstar. I read it all, so I'm not surprised going to the following week or even day, rather, and also Twitter. But yeah, I'm really excited for that, and collaborating with Shark and Wolf, and all you guys are really good. And Trendspider, I've been learning and looking at these charts, and I'll be charting on Trendspider next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
How about you, Shark?
Yeah, so the ones that a couple people have already talked about it. It's funny because PINS had some unusual option activity that happened this week, so that's definitely one that's on my radar. VISL Vislink is going to be one that I've been watching. Also, anyone that doesn't have a cybersecurity watch list, definitely you should be having one. One that I even in my portfolio is FireEye, so that's one that I'd like to watch. And then and then PLTR and Fubu. Those are ones that I'm looking for, and that's like my little 5 list right there.
Fubu.
Awesome. So I think that covers a good amount. We ran a little bit over an hour, which I think was plenty of time to get out a lot of our thoughts. I really love these technical analysis spaces. Thank you, James, for coming on. Was this your first Twitter space that you've spoken on?
This was my first Twitter Spaces ever, so so I apologize.
No, fantastic. I love breaking people into these. This is the first space that I had you on one of mine, Jake. So that was fantastic, but we'll just continue to do these. I think that technical analysis is starting to play a bigger role than ever. It's really driven me to lean into it much more than I have beforehand. Hopefully I'll be posting some charting and stuff to my page over the next couple of weeks, which is, I haven't done a lot of that in the past, posting it to my pages. So, I'll be leaning into that a bit more, but really just want to, thank each one of my speakers. Before we get off, I'll just give kind of like a 1-minute wrap up to everyone. Feel free to kind of give whatever you want to say. If you have something you want to promote, or your call. I'll start with you, Jake.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And I think FinTwit is probably one of the more powerful tools you can use in the market. I generally am either going on Twitter or StockTwits anytime I see a big move in price, because most of the time that information is going to be out on social media quicker than I can find it through a news source or something like that. So just really love the community, and really just a great place to be if you want to learn about trading, technical analysis, anything like that. And as always, like I said, you always need to have some humor in there too. So just another shout out to Greg and all these parody accounts that just make this whole experience have a little humor in it, not so serious about just money and all that. So I'm looking forward to listening into the meme spaces. When is that?
So yeah, that's tomorrow at 6 p.m. And I also just got confirmation that Bullish from Bullish Studio is going to be there, Brian Hanley. So that'll be tomorrow. I don't think Greg's going to speak, but he'll munch, hopefully. And then we'll have Matt Esparza, Meme Investors, John W. Rich Kid, and Bullish Studio will be on there. That's 6 p.m. EST tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely tune in to that. And no, that's all I have. Thanks everybody for listening in. Hopefully, this was valuable for everyone learning, something. And if you guys have any questions for me, I don't have my DMs open currently, but I will open them up for the next. I'm getting feedback. One second.
Yeah, I think that's coming from James. So I just muted him for a second, but when he needs to speak, he can unmute.
Okay,
Go for
cool.
it.
But no, definitely just thanks everybody. If you have any questions, I'll open up my DMs here for the next couple hours. Sometimes I just close them just because it can get a little overwhelming because I do a lot of the Trendspider DMs too, and it just can be a lot to keep up with. But if anyone has any questions about Trendspider, you want to send me a message, I'll open up my messages here for the next couple hours. And thanks everybody again.
Sweet, awesome. Real quick before we go the rest of them to close, Kareng, you seem like you had something to say. I think he did. I think he's up here. Kareng Patel, CMT candidate. All right, not sure. I'm not hearing from him, or at least it's not coming through on my end. So Bobby, you want to give your wrap up?
Yeah, I'll give you my wrap up. People can follow me at Bobby Gattuso. At Bobby Gattuso. You can feel free to DM me. If there's any tickers that you like, maybe some chart analysis on, I can quickly do that over the next coming days, and then also into our Twitch on Monday. So you can follow me at Bobby Gattuso, and I appreciate the follow, and hopefully Shark and I can add value to everyone's trading strategy starting next week.
Sorry, Wolf. I was looking at some charts, buddy, just to close out the day. Yeah, man. Obviously, the Fed did its thing today. You want to pay attention to a few key points there. They said everything everybody expected them to say, and the market had its tantrum. Whether or not it was due to the 2 Fed hikes that are possible going into 2023, who knows? I think honestly, tech's an interesting area. Pay attention to a lot of those charts to make sure it's not a dead cat bounce on tech. Financials definitely did well, and energy as well.
Perfect. Appreciate the little insight there. Also, I want to let everyone know, I think that there was a ton of valuable information that went down in here. And the good news is, in case you misheard something or you stepped away for a second, one of our analysts that works at Wolf, Josh Meltzer, is in the crowd and he is recording. So that's at Josh_Meltzer, MELTZER_. He is in the crowd recording, and I will have that recording posted hopefully within the next 24 hours. We've been getting a little bit faster at those, and that'll go onto my YouTube and Spotify, which you can find on my pinned tweet. So those are always good. Shark.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a pleasure and honor to be on here with some of the various speakers. If anyone's not following anybody on here, I always recommend following everybody. I get some great follows at the end of these days just because everyone trades differently. And like, Stock Chart Art was talking about that find your system, find things that work for you, right? Look at what other people do and then try and find a system that works for you, because everyone's time restraints are different, everyone's money and capital is different, everyone's risk reward is different, everyone day and time is different, and everyone's tolerance on how much they can stay in a stock, on especially when things are volatile, is completely different. So I just want to say, stay safe out there, trade safe, use indicators as a good way for trend reversals. And if you want, on my Discord, we go ahead and we do live review every night of some of the unusual option activity and some of the plays that we're looking for. So everyone here is welcome and looking forward to having you. And thank you again for having me.
Of course, always a pleasure. Stock Chart Art.
Yeah, thank you everybody who came to listen to us. It's truly appreciated. Wolf, thanks for having me on, brother. It's an honor to be on here with you guys. It's really fun watching you grow. I kind of remember when you just came on the scene, and I was following you, and I saw the work you were doing, and then I was also watching your followers too, because I'm like, damn, this guy's like getting followers like really quick. Like he's already got like more followers than me, and he's only been been at it for a little bit. So yeah, so you're definitely, so your work definitely doesn't go unnoticed, and you're doing a really good job. So a big thank you. And also guys, if you're not using Trendspider charts, if you're trading and you're not charting yourself, you're at a huge disadvantage. Trendspider, they got the best charting system. They got the best charting software. They got an awesome team over there. If you guys ever have any issues, any questions, you contact them. You're able to get in contact with somebody right away. You never have to wait. So,
Hey, Chart, could you do me a favor, buddy? I didn't want to interject on you. You want to kind of touch on that? Because I know Jake won't really talk about it because he's a humble guy.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, the customer service team over there is top notch. Like you got an issue with the service, like you get like on a live chat, like you're on with somebody within 30 seconds, like you have your question answered. A, a lot of my time in the beginning using the software, you have a lot of questions, you have a lot of issues, you're getting used to the program, you're learning how to use it and how to utilize it. Anytime I ever had a question, anytime I ever had an issue, I had somebody on the live chat like within 30 seconds. So, I know customer service is a very important aspect of what they do, and it's definitely appreciated from the customer end. So, like, if you guys aren't using Trendspider,
Yeah, I would definitely add one thing to that, stock chart art. They got a cool feature called Raindrops, man. Now, I've used TradingView, I've used StockCharts.com. I haven't seen anything like that in anyone else's platform. I've heard the same thing about their customer service is top notch. They got a good team over there, and I think that's what makes it work is Jake as well as Dan. I know they do a lot of work with the CMT. A lot of us in the CMT Association definitely appreciate them. They're one of few companies when you do have an issue, they address it and they get you a solution.
oh no, they do, man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Really appreciate that.
yeah, and definitely a big shout out to Dan Ushman, the CEO of Trendspider. He loves the company. He's passionate about what he does. He's working 24/7 on ways to improve the program and make the user experience better. So, these guys are very passionate about what they do. They love what they do, and they're really trying to build the best trading software that's out there. And give them a shot. You get a free week trial. They do a one-on-one coaching session with you to take you through the program and to answer any questions that you have. You could DM me too. If you have any questions, I got like a promo code you guys could use too to get 30% off Trendspider. So, I'm pretty sure a couple of us have those promo codes. So like that's one of the great things about FinTwit too, man. Like I think it's like truly, I think it's a really special place on Twitter. It's a community of traders, and we're all on this journey together. And it's truly, I think it's something very, very special. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. So I think that we're truly blessed to have all of these people that are working together towards the same goal to become better traders and to pass the knowledge on to others.
Absolutely. I am going to wrap up actually. For some time reasons, I do have to hop and write a few important emails, but thank you, Stock Chart Art, for the kind words. I do put in a good, 7 to 8 hours a day on here, so I'm glad that it has been paying off and building up. Really appreciate all my speakers and my listeners as always. If you are unfamiliar with myself, my name is Gav Blacksberg, and I'm the COO and the voice of Wolf Financial. And I will be back with many more spaces with hopefully plenty of value and amazing speakers shortly. Take care, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.
All right, you too, Wolf.